the response to Gary Doom Gloom Boom Mendum thing. It's a response to your video. I think it's called something like Not Keen on Peachy, it's called, because it takes on some of the ideas that I'm talking about in my response to Peach's video. I should just thank you for those kind words at the beginning of there, Gary. The most, well, you're a bit critical of some of the things I talk about, and I can accept that. But yeah, this last bit where you describe it as me falling, I think falling on my sword or tripping over my sword. And I'm guessing there's nothing Freudian in that. It's just this comment I make about how I don't think people should be convinced of things quite as easily as they seem to be. And specifically I talk about how you know, people shouldn't watch a 20-minute YouTube video and then be convinced by it, or I would find that a bit suspect. And you say, no, that's not really the case. You think it is perfectly possible to make a 20-minute video, or a 5-minute video, or a 2-minute poem, I think you say, and convince someone of that, and that'd be convincing. And I think you're absolutely right. But my concern with that would be that it's very easy to become a convict of your convictions. You know, I think convincement, being convinced, is a bit of a trap sometimes. In the comments section, I think it was, of the video you're talking about, there was a comment from Silver Soul. He said something like, you know, it is possible to be convinced in 20 minutes, and he cites Michael Shermer, the skeptic, editor of Skeptic magazine. And he said, apparently, according to Silver Soul, Michael Shermer was convinced about the whole global warming, climate change thing by watching Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. I don't know if that's true or not, but you know, the idea of watching a 2-hour movie in that case, or a 20-minute TED presentation on it, might convince a person. And my response to that was one I would stand by, which is, you know, that presumably, I don't know this for a fact, but presumably the movie An Inconvenient Truth was based on, you know, a hard scientific data. I would assume that's the case. And I'm assuming, again, that Michael Shermer wasn't convinced by the presentation, he was convinced by the data. And if he's any kind of a skeptic, quite honestly, he shouldn't allow himself to be convinced by the movie, because movies, like YouTube videos that have got lots of editing in them, are designed to convince. That's their, you know, they're using the tools of convincing. You know, they're using all the kind of polemical and, you know, kind of propagandistic in a way, tools to make a person feel a certain way about something. And I'm not condemning An Inconvenient Truth. I thought it was very fantastic, you know, and it certainly encouraged me to go and look at the data. And if that's what it did, if it encouraged Michael Shermer to look at the data again, and that led to him being, if not convinced, then at least accepting the situation, then that's fine. But if the movie itself is convincing, and he's basing his judgment entirely on the movie, just like anybody basing their judgment and their sense of conviction entirely on a 20-minute video, I would say that was wrong. I think you wouldn't be a skeptic if you did that. And I mean, I think you cite the theory of evolution as an example of something you could get across in 5 minutes and convince someone of that. You probably could, but quite honestly, you know, if I was any kind of a skeptic, even about something like as solid as the theory of evolution, if I watched a 5-minute YouTube video of it and felt convinced at the end of it, then I would be looking to my own sense of being convinced. And I would be questioning, you know, should I really be feeling convinced at this point, or should I go and look at the data? And if that 5-minute video has encouraged me to go and look at the data, and then accept the truth that data seems to point towards, and that's fine. But I don't think that's the 5-minute video that's doing that. The 5-minute video might prompt it, but it might give you a sense of being convinced. But again, I would be suspect about that. I think it can go wrong. I think that's the logic of propaganda and marketing and advertising, and rhetoric, you know, and political speeches and sound bites. That's the whole logic of that, it seems to me. The logic of trying to convince somebody, as opposed to laying out all of the argument. I mean, in a sense that, you know, I mean, that's been a lot of the problem with me all the way through this, and in particular this discussion about prostitution. But it was the same when it was the discussion about Islam and, you know, the Draw Muhammad Day thing, and it's been, well, the same with a number of different things, theism, atheism, some of the nuances of that. You know, it's either, you know, you're either for us or you're against us, you know. There is only these choices, and that's the fucking lot. And that's really tedious, in my opinion. That doesn't reflect any kind of truth most of the time. Sometimes it does. I'm not saying it doesn't sometimes, but most of the times it doesn't. Most of the times you have to try to take into account all of the data you've got and form a more detailed, complex, multi-layered explanation for all of the data. You know what I mean? I mean, truth isn't a democracy, is it? It's not a first past the post democracy where you will put your votes in the ballot box. And the most that people that think about a certain thing, you know what I mean? 9 out of 10 people think prostitution is fine, therefore it's fine. You know, 6 out of 10 people think Draw Muhammad Day was a brilliant idea, therefore it's a brilliant idea. It's just not going to work like that, is it? You need to explain the 9 and the 1 in a higher order theory, or you need to explain the 6 and the 4 in a higher order theory. All of it, you know, I think. So yeah, it's about that convincing thing. Yeah. I think I'll make a separate video actually, because I'll probably want to just leave this there because it take me a bit longer to go on. Because this convincing thing, I think, is it links to something you'll probably find fucking irritating, which is this stuff I've been talking about, feeling. I'm going to start using a different word, I think. But that thing of feeling that you know something. What happens when you feel you know something? And I think that's what being convinced by a 20-minute video, a 2-hour movie, a 5-minute video, a 2-minute poem, it's inducing something in you which makes you feel that you know something. And for me, it's just something that needs a bit of critical evaluation. You know, I just think you need to step back from that and think, you know, do I really know this? Should I be swayed by this feeling of knowing that I've got right now? You know, yeah, that's about it really. Anyway, thanks for the videos there, Gary. A lot of good stuff there recently.